Welcome to the Tepper School of Business Multimedia Series. For more information on the Tepper School at Carnegie Mellon, please visit us at www.tepper.cmu.edu/multimedia. And now, here's your selected video.
Well, good evening. My name is John Sangenberger. I'm Executive Director of Alumni Relations at the Tepper School of Business at Carnegie Mellon University, and we're delighted to have you all with us tonight for our special Tepper Alumni Reception being hosted by our Military Veterans Association of the Tepper School, part of a great community that we have here. And although I didn't serve in the active military myself, my son Luke served 5 years in the Marine Corps, and actually working tonight doing some tech work at a law firm, but had a great experience in the Marine Corps. My nephew was in the Air Force. My niece was in the Navy, my dad was in the Army, my father-in-law was in the Navy, my cousin was Green Beret, so I think we've got something covered almost everywhere in the family. But it's great to be with you tonight, and we really appreciate such a strong turnout. Special thanks to Jeremy Arboff, one of our MBA students, who is the president of the Military Veterans Club, and the team of the club that have worked so hard to make such a great event tonight. So let's hear it for Jeremy and the team. In addition to being an active MBA student with a big workload here, he is also a second lieutenant active duty in the U.S. Marine Corps, so great to have him with us tonight. Okay, in the spring of 2004, a number of our Tepper students came to me and they said, hey, we want to have a military veterans organization. We want to find out who the alumni are that are military vets. And back then, we didn't have LinkedIn and some of the other things that we were working on. So they said, what do we have that we can work with? And I said, well, we have resume books. Back then, everything wasn't online, even such a short time ago. So they literally went through all the resume books as far back as they could go, and they got all the names of all the alumni that they knew that had military backgrounds, and we put it into a database and started a military veterans alumni group that we could reach out to. So it was great for them. They were wonderful alumni who got involved. But over the years, we've increased our involvement with the military. We've become a yellow ribbon school for military recruiting, and our alumni who have come into the school have been amazing in their involvement with the school. So you're going to get a chance to experience some of them tonight, and we're glad to have our guests here too. We've got some students and some ROTC students. When I come in the morning, I usually get here about 6 a.m. and go over to the gym to work out, and when I get there, it's always a joy to see the ROTC students coming from all over, from Carnegie Mellon, from Duquesne, from Pitt. You can tell all the Navy engineers because they're from Carnegie Mellon here, so they're always hard at work. But we've got them from all the different branches of the service. They're out working on the field, and sometimes they're doing their swim tests. So that's usually where I can't get a space in the locker or any room in the shower. So there's a lot of them going around. But it's an exciting time, and we're proud of the strong heritage that Carnegie Mellon University has in welcoming military vets and ROTC students on campus. So before I do our introduction of our alumni guest speaker tonight, I wanted to take an opportunity. An event like this is really intended to be a networking event to build the community, to build your relationships with one another. So I'm going to ask you, we're actually going to do some introductions now, and we're going to ask you to just do a very brief introduction. So if you can tell us, obviously for our students, what year you are, what program you are, and that'll help us out for that part. For those of you who are alumni, you can also tell not only what branch of service you were involved in and when you went to school here, but what you're doing now. So give us just a brief thing. We'll try to go around the room so you can get a chance to do that. When it's your turn, I ask you just to stand up and look around the room when you talk so people can identify with you. Then later on in the evening you can say, I want to talk to her, I want to talk to him, I want to connect with them, and we'll build some sense of community here. So I'm going to I guess we'll start right here with Jason. Jason's one of our recent grads here, but was very active in the Military Veterans Club when he was a student as well.
Thanks, John. Jason Lewis, Tepper 2010, Army, Special Forces, and work at PNC.
Excellent.
Mike Garrick, I'm currently a second year here, Army, again, Special Forces. I was a combat medic.
I'm Benjamin Smith. I'm 4th class University of Pittsburgh, Navy Marine option.
I'm Midshipman 4th Class Mark Q, Navy option, and I am at University of Pittsburgh studying finance at the College of Business Administration.
I'm Matthew Decker. I'm in NROTC Marine Option, Midshipman 4th Class, studying math. I'm a freshman at Carnegie Mellon.
I'm Midshipman 4th Class Rudolph. I go to the University of Pittsburgh, and I'm a nurse option.
I'm Midshipman 4th Class Griffin. I go to CMU and I'm studying physics.
I'm Wayne Nutting. I was at Flex-Time, graduated in '97. I'm retired Army Colonel with just recently separated from active duty and currently on the adjunct staff at the RAND Corporation, studying cyber warfare.
My name is Adam Brooks, first year MBA student, and I was Air Force Communications.
Hi, my name is Brendan Doyle, former Army officer, transportation, first year MBA student.
Adrian Galarza, former Army enlisted, and I'm a first year MBA.
Phil Spencer, first year MBA student, 8 years Air Force intelligence officer.
Sang Lee, Air Force Civil Engineering Officer, just got out 6 months ago, and first year MBA.
I'm Max Frank, Army Intelligence Officer, and I am a first year MBA.
Midshipman 3rd Class Leitner, University of Pittsburgh, Marine Option Midshipman at the Naval ROTC unit here at Carnegie Mellon.
Midshipman 3rd Class Casey. I'm a nurse option at Carnegie Mellon NROTC, and I'm studying nursing at Duquesne. I'm in my sophomore year.
Midshipman 4th Class Spartan. I study Spanish at the University of Pittsburgh, and I'm a Navy option.
I'm Mark Georgie, a Naval Academy grad, Marine Corps helicopter pilot, currently working for Consol Energy as a financial analyst.
Hi, I'm Joe Grant. I'm a retired Marine officer. I graduated from the Heinz School in 2011, so thanks for including me, Tepper guys. And I'm currently in between jobs.
Beverly, it was Taylor when I went here, now Krager. I was in Women's Army Corps during World War II, and I graduated from here in 1950. Worked at Pitt for over 30 years, and of course, long retired.
Hi, I'm Rachel Keeler, Tepper 1994. I'm a civilian. I'm on the board of directors of the CMU Pittsburgh Alumni Clan, as well as I'm a self-employed financial advisor. And one thing that Beverly forgot to tell you is that she's also on the board of directors of the World War II Fund for Pittsburgh. So they helped raise the funds in order to get the World War II Memorial on the North Shore.
Nice.
I'm Jack Stoken. I started here in CIT. I was in the ROTC at the beginning. And of course, then I had to go to World War II, and I did graduate in 1948. And I see these people here, and it just makes me feel good, because I think that this is what we need. Thank you.
Shaw, Tepper, 2006. No military affiliation, but I work for PNC and we like to hire veterans, so come see me.
Tom White, enlisted Navy CB, Naval Academy, class of 77, supply officer attached with CB Battalion, Carnegie Mellon Tepper, class of 84.
Nick Prolick, retired Navy commander, surface warfare, Desert Storm veteran, secretary of the award of the Friends of the Pittsburgh Fisher House, up here on the University Drive, and happy to be here. Was invited by my friend. Thank you.
My name is CJ Johnston. I am president of the board of directors for the Friends of the Pittsburgh Fisher House, which is up there at the VA facility. I am a retired lieutenant colonel in the Air Force.
Glenn Coyer, class of 2009. I am Director of Customer Operations for Dynamics Inc. No military affiliation outside of my dad. Robert George, Tepper alum as of last month. No military affiliation, also at Dynamics.
I'm Jason Orser, first year MBA, Business Analytics. Enlisted, I was Aviation Electronics Tech, and a couple years Navy Supply Officer.
I'm Lauren T. I'm a 4th class nurse option midshipman at the NROTC unit here at Carnegie Mellon, and I'm a nursing student at University of Pittsburgh.
I am midshipman 4th class Davis. I'm a freshman at Duquesne University studying nursing, so I'm a nurse option.
I'm midshipman 4th class Bear, and I'm studying mechanical engineering at CMU.
Hello, midshipman 4th class Seniori studying biochemistry at the University of Duquesne. Duquesne University, I'm sorry. And I'm a Navy option.
Lieutenant Tim Leonardi, Naval Academy 04, E2 Hawkeye Mission Commander in the fleet. Currently acting XO at the NROTC unit. So, and I told these guys they would get 5 bonus points for every business card they got in Naval Science class. I'll force them to not have the high school dance mentality and just talk to each other. So if they're bugging you, you can complain to me.
My name is Brian Julian. I'm here with my fiance Annie. I was in the United States Navy for 4 years. I worked for DTE Energy.
Hi, I'm Annie Dolan. I'm Associate Director of Master's Admissions here at the Tepper School, and I created and lead our military outreach initiatives.
Hi, Ned Collins. I'm a former Army officer and an 04 Tepper MBA grad, and I currently work at a small company that makes pop-up campers out in Westmoreland County.
Hi, Chris Farrells, GSIA class of 97, active duty Army signal officer, an entrepreneur here in Pittsburgh. I currently have a company that serves the railroad industry.
Nolan Park, class of 98, currently in a company that's trying to bring foreign investors to Western PA to help create jobs.
Hi, I'm Bill Estrite, Tepper class of 1998, 20-year mission commander on this C-130 of the Air Force Reserves. And I'm also an entrepreneur in Pittsburgh, work for Korea Consulting, and I'm very proud of all of you guys, so, and girls, thank you very much.
Mike Harris, Naval Academy 2006. I was a Navy Suppo tied to a Naval Special Warfare unit. Currently work at Chesapeake Energy and a Tepper 2014 class.
Jack Coletti, Navy class of 91, Tepper 2000, classmates with Alden Mills here. And what else? IT consulting for the government. Core Federal is the name of the company. So if you're interested in IT consulting, systems consulting, come see me.
Hi, Ted Dyckman. I'm a major retired, was a signal officer, and I went to West Virginia University, ROTC. Currently work for Director of Client Services for Prodigo Solutions. It's a company that's owned by UPMC, and we do supply chain solutions.
Good evening. My name is Matt Zucchetti. I am a Coast Guard Academy graduate, retired Coast Guard commander, and went to the Keynote Flagler Business School years ago, and now work at the PNC.
Evening. Matt Brucker, civilian, and I have the great honor and pleasure of working side by side with Alden Mills at the Perfect Fitness Company.
Good evening. My name is Jertez Hunter. I'm a Tepper class of 2013, West Point class of 2004.
Oh, so sorry. So sorry.
While I was in the 11 years. That's how many times Navy has been Army. Yeah. So while I was in the Army, I was an armor officer, and I'll be heading to Union Pacific this summer.
Tom Zinkel. I was Army enlisted infantry, and currently I'm class of 2013 here at Tepper.
My name is Kai Kong. I'm a second-year MBA student here at Tepper. I served in the U.S. Coast Guard for 3 years, and I'm still in the reserve.
We have a couple colleagues in the back from my team, so why don't you stand up?
Hi, I'm Bonnie Schultz. I work here at Carnegie Mellon. I've developed a special bond with Jeremy. just this year, he's become my hero. And I just want to tell you that I'm very proud just to be in this room with all of you.
Good evening. I'm Gail Weems. I'm the Alumni Events Manager here at the Tepper School. John Sangenberger is my boss. It is my privilege to be here. My military affiliation is with Alden and with Jeremy and with my father, my uncle, my brother, and my sons, all right?
Amen, Gail.
John already introduced me. I'm Jeremy Hardwell, but I wanted to take this opportunity to thank a couple people in the room. First off, we got John and Gail. This event wouldn't have happened without both of them, so if we give them a round of applause, it would be great. Next person is Bonnie. We wouldn't have this room if it wouldn't be for Bonnie. Bonnie's always taken care of us, been a big supporter of the Veterans Foundation, so we give her a round of applause. Then Annie Dolan in the missions office. She has been the biggest leader of the veteran outreach program here at the Tepper School of Business. I can't tell you how many prospective veteran students have been reaching out to me through Annie. Annie gives them my contact information, or emailing, or calling me. And it's just endless. I probably talked to 20 veterans in the last month and a half, and it's all coming from Annie, and Annie's leading that effort. So we're strong in numbers. And as Alden said to me earlier today, there was about 6 veterans while he was here, and we're up to about 25 between the first years, the second years, and the flex timers. So that's great. Let's give Annie a round of applause. And I'd like to thank Lieutenant Tim Leonardi for bringing all the midshipmen here. It's great to have you here. Alden's a great guy. He served in the Navy as a Navy SEAL. I'm sure he's going to have some good sea stories, right, Alden?
Yes, sir. I'll do my best, Second Lieutenant.
And then last, I want to thank all the alumni for coming, because that's where our strength is at the Tepper School of Business, is with the alumni. When we come to school here, being able to reach out to the alumni and having this small, tight-knit community where we can rely on you guys and girls is just phenomenal. So to have 60 people here when we had 30 attend last year is just great. So thank you all for coming.
Yes, we call it a network within the network. So you have a double network when you come here as a military active duty or vet. Well, let's just take a moment of silence before we begin our formal presentation now, and just to recall all those who are serving right now in harm's way, that they would be protected and accomplish their missions, and especially for those who have suffered for their service and have passed away as well. Okay, well, now it's time to introduce our main speaker here tonight. Let me flip through this a bit. I use these when I'm traveling around the country, so you just have to mind those. But we're very excited to have Alden Mills with us tonight. We've got a shot of him working as the perfect push-up for us, so we're excited to see that. But as you can see, a political science major at the U.S. Naval Academy, went into the Navy SEAL, so I'll tell you about that tonight. Became a SEAL commander. The story of perfect fitness will come out in the work that he was doing there. But he left on a Friday as the story, and came the Navy SEALs on a Friday and started his classes at Tepper on a Monday. So that was a quick transition. I've talked to many of our alumni vets around the country, and they said it was like that. They got right out and came right in, or they did it while they were in active duty, so in the Pittsburgh area. So he's been a great advocate for us, a great ambassador for the school. He served on our alumni panels out on the West Coast and here on campus, talking about entrepreneurship and some of the things he's learned in his career. He's been a great advocate for us in our admissions process, helping us to attract strong students here for the Tepper School. And I want to just share with you a little bit of something he had to say when we asked him about his involvement there. See if I can get, there we go. Let's go.
You're really trying to embarrass me now, aren't you?
Let me get back.
Navy SEAL, I chose Tepper, the most demanding business school in the country. All MBA programs are not created equal. I was not looking for some silver spoon experience where I just got to read a bunch of cases for a couple of years. I wanted to understand the true fundamentals of what it takes to bring product to market, and that was one of the key skill sets that I was missing in SEAL Team, and one of the great things I gained when I was at Tepper. You know, when everyone hears that I was a Navy SEAL, they immediately think, oh, he's going to be a great leader. But when you're in the business environment, you need to be able to lead and inspire and motivate people that are never going to go into combat. It's not about managing people. The really great people that you bring and want to attract to your business, they want to be inspired. They want to be led. Get out of their way, give them the resources, and give them the inspiration, and then they'll take you to the next level. When I tell people that I went to Tepper, there's a whole different level of respect that I've found. And people are like, oh, that school's tough. It kind of makes sense that a Navy SEAL would go to a place like Tepper. But the really hard things, the things that really take time to work at, those are the most rewarding. People ask me all the time, why did you go from a technology company, which is what I joined right out of Tepper, to starting a fitness products business? For me, I found a higher purpose in helping people take control of their body. And I've attracted a phenomenal team to my team in building out Perfect Pushup. The Perfect Pushup is also, it wasn't the overnight success that everybody thinks it was. I call it the overnight success that took 10 years. And even then, to get us to the next level, we had to seek out a company that was bigger and better than us at operations. And so recently, I found a whole new skill set that I had totally forgotten Tepper had prepared me for in dealing with senior management of larger organizations. Tepper has been with me in the experiences I've had with Tepper for the last 10 years, from starting a business, building the business, and now selling the business and working with that new business, taking it to a worldwide leadership platform for consumer products and fitness. You know, I remember when I first graduated from Tepper, and we all had these great dreams of large bank accounts and killer cars in your garage, and it was like you were creating a destination of what you were trying to build. So one day you'd be there and be like, okay, I got it all. And the thing that I've really come to appreciate and learn, that it isn't about that destination, it's about the journey and about enjoying every step of the journey. You're gonna work hard, embrace that, but play really hard too. Work hard, play hard, and enjoy the ride. Do I have to talk now?
Otherwise, I'll turn it on again, yeah.
I don't want to follow that guy.
Join me in welcoming Alden Mills.
Thank you, John. All right, Jeremy. Thank you. Could we get that projector up?
We're going to take it up.
All right, perfect. Sound check. Gail, can you hear me, girl? I can hear you. Loud and clear. Jack, Beverly, you got me? Can you two hear me? Good? Jack, I couldn't agree more with what you said. Having to see the next generation with all the NROTC here and all the current alums that are from the military being here, it makes me proud too. And thank you too for being here today. And you guys. I'm glad you're up here in the front row. So, I got asked, Jeremy called me out in, was it November? October? Oh, it was August. He called me out in August and he said, hey, I really want you to come speak at this Veterans Club. And I said, well, from the Academy? And then he said, no, it's from Carnegie Mellon. And I had no idea that Carnegie Mellon actually had a Veterans Club, let alone that we now have these 25 veterans here tonight. It so fires me up. That's probably about the first of many that you're going to hear tonight. But guys, I have to tell you, there's a piece of that video that I missed. And I kicked myself right afterwards. I figured out what it was.
because they kept having me come out of the water, and they kept having me say why you came to Tepper. And I was like, okay, well, I think about operations research, I think about analytics, I think about one thing after another. The reason I ended up coming to Tepper is because I wanted to be a better leader. That's why I came to Tepper. And that's what's so unique in particular about all of the military folk that are here. You guys are going to get great leadership skills for the NROTC side of you. The guys that are already here who've been through that process, who are now at Tepper, you're going to get the next set of weapons that I affectionately call all the linear programming to go out there and really take on and make things great. And I'm hoping tonight that I'll give you a couple of lessons learned. And the whole idea around the speech that I have tonight was really geared towards the first and second year Tepper classmate that has come straight out of the military. I put myself in your shoes. I mean, I remember I was jumping out of an airplane. I actually think it was like a Monday, and then by Friday, I was here. And my head was spinning. I mean, I didn't have any civilian transition. I went Naval Academy straight to SEAL team. From 18 to 29, I was a military guy. So then to come to Tepper, it was kind of a double transition. I had to learn how to be a bit of a civilian. At the same time, I needed to learn a new vernacular. So, and through that, I then went on and I started this fitness products company called Perfect Pushup. You heard me say that it wasn't the overnight success. I started in 2002, and we went through every single up and down I think a business could do. And just a brief snapshot of what that business was. I went 2003, 2004, we raised about $1.5 million. And then in the next couple of years, I learned 1,475,000 ways not to launch a product. And I literally had the 25,000 left. Had my father-in-law pull me aside, grab my arm and say, I didn't raise a daughter to marry a bleeping aerobics instructor. You got 6 months. I mean, so I had all kinds of pressure coming. That was the worst pressure I could imagine. Not to mention, I had 37 investors who were not happy with me. Most of them were saying, go get a job. But then Perfect Pushup came along. I said, no, no, no. And really, this is my father-in-law. I'm telling this story to him. Like, sir, I got this idea. It's called the Perfect Pushup. I'm going to launch it 6 months. So we ended up launching it in 6 months. And then 2006 rolls around. We launched it in the fall. We did about $500,000 in revenue in 2006. 2007, we did $32 million. And it was a total different set of problems when you go from that kind of transition. And then the next year, you're at $63 million in sales. And by the way, the team didn't grow like that. We were still trying to figure out what to do. And remember, my first civilian job was straight out of Carnegie Mellon. Like, I had no template to follow. And a lot of people, so then the banks fell through. And then I ended up having an IRS officer show up at my front doorstep saying, you get assigned a personal IRS officer because you have an LLC, you own X%, and by the way, you owe the IRS over $1 million. Huh, how did this happen? And then you have the banks going, oh, we're going to pull your loan now. It's 2009. Yes, we did miss some numbers. We had some ratios out of whack. And then I got the chance to work in a workout division for a while. But then it became a happy story because we kept growing at retail. We paid that bank back in full. We paid back the IRS in full. We managed everything, and we got it done. And we ended up selling the business about 1.5 years ago, and it was a good thing for everybody when we did that. And now we're in a position where we're like, hey, maybe we'll do something like that again. But throughout that entire process, I call that kind of my civilian SEAL training. And in that civilian SEAL training, I ended up, I looked at my Mills boy next generation, and I got 4 little boys, and I started thinking, okay, what would I tell these guys to say, how could you be the most successful you could be? Like, what would be the nugget I'd pass along? And one of the things that also cropped up during that time period, I almost went back in the military. September 11th was a really big pull. I'm sure it was for a lot of guys who were in during that time period. And I ended up losing a lot of classmates. And I started thinking about, you know what? These classmates didn't get a chance to say something to their family. So I kind of went on this internal mission to think about, okay, what's the most important attribute that I could share with my kids or any entrepreneur that comes knocking on my doorstep? That's what I want to share with you guys tonight. Now, you have to realize that I also kind of break it down into the simplest little components, but I think it's valid, and I think the most important thing is, the most important trait is not giving up. So how do you create something that you don't give up? Like, how do you teach somebody not to give up? It's kind of hard, because it's really up to that individual person. And I'm going to start with a C story, and I'm going to teach you the code. It's what I call the code. The code is made up of 8 actions, and I'm going to walk you through them. And if you can use them, great. If you got questions about them afterwards, come talk to me about the code. But the code first started when I really first got introduced to it. It was in Hell Week of SEAL training. Hell Week was the 6th week. It's now the 3rd week because you have such a dropout rate after Hell Week. Hell Week is designed to simulate combat. It goes from Sunday night till Friday morning. It's really only 5 wake-ups, so it's not a full week. But you lose the large majority of your class at that point. And I never quite understood why so many guys dropped out, especially since I'm a Clydesdale. That's what they literally call the guys in SEAL team. A Clydesdale is a guy over 200 pounds, and they're not really designed to be in this kind of brutality. You want to be like a 150-pound wrestler. That's like a perfect size. So I ended up being the class leader because by the time we had 122 people that started, we got down to 64 to class up for the first 6 weeks of SEAL training. By the time I got to Hell Week, we're down to 34. So we had this one guy, and I'm just going to call him Seaman Schmuckatelli. Seaman Schmuckatelli had actually worked in the medical department. He knew what was coming. He had been there for 6 months. He saw everything. He could tell us in advance, here's what's going to happen during breakout. They're going to throw these bombs, they're going to hit you with a fire hose, and they're going to come in with M60s, and you're going to be all disoriented, and they're going to pull people out. I'm like, great, got it. You know, you're trying to take notes. You're trying to cram for an exam, which, by the way, it's very hard to cram for an exam where it's really just a kick in the groin, okay? That's just, you can't train for that. So he started telling us everything, and I'm like, okay, Schmuckatelli is definitely going to make it because he knows exactly what's coming next. We're now 4 hours into Hell Week, and I have this chief. We'll call the chief Chief Smith. Chief Smith was from Boston, and he had that accent like a Boston guy, and he loved to torture you all. And I was Ensign Mills. And he'd go, Ensign Mills, I want all you little maggots to get in the water. And so we'd all get in the water, we'd line up, we'd link arms. This is in December, it's a winter Hell Week. Water's about 58, 60 degrees cold. And we're sitting in there, and it's raining, and it's 45 degrees outside because he's informing us of how cold everything is. He wants to let us know. And he's sitting up there on the berm, and he's got this big box of pop flares. And he goes, Ensign Mills, I fire off a pop flare. It takes 54 seconds. And he's looking at it and he's talking to me in a megaphone. For that pop flare to fire out, there are 181 pop flares in these cases. We're class 181. How long do I have? And he was like, you're trying to do the math. He goes, a long bleeping time, okay? So I'm going to be out here firing pop flares until I get my first quitter. So we're out there, we're singing songs for about 10 minutes. And, you know, nobody's going to quit, right? It's the first night of Hell Week. We're all going to have what's called a no-bell hell. No one's going to go ring that bell. The bell's out there. You can hear him. Bring the ambulance. Ambulance drives right out in front. We're getting hammered by the waves. We're starting to shake a little. He opens the door of the ambulance. Turn the light on in the ambulance. Little glow flows out. It's raining. Ensign Mills, I got hot cocoa and warm blankets in the ambulance. Who's my first quitter? And I'm not kidding you. Within 10 seconds of him saying that, one of the guys, Seaman Schmuckatelli, breaks out of the line. And we're like, what are you doing? Seaman, no, we're not going to have anybody quit. I'm out of here. I'm out of here. And he ran up to Chief Smith, and Chief Smith, in classic fashion, with his megaphone, Seaman Schmuckatelli said, Seaman Schmuckatelli, what are you doing here? I'd like some of the hot cocoa and warm blankets, Chief Smith. I'm sorry, I don't understand. Could you say it in the megaphone? Seaman Schmuckatelli. I'm quitting. Oh, Alden Mills, I got my first quitter. Seaman Schmuckatelli, I don't have hot cocoa and warm blankets for quitters. Get out of my face. Hell Week started, Seaman Schmuckatelli was out. And that's how kind of the whole week started. Well, I ended up catching up with Seaman Schmuckatelli. I'm like, what are you doing? Well, why'd you quit? And he said, you know what? I just realized, like, I love the whole thing about being a SEAL. I wanted to be a SEAL and, like, get the girls and, you know, walk around and say I'm a Navy SEAL, but I don't want to be a Navy SEAL on a rainy day. And it just, like, it didn't make sense to me. Like, how could you go through all this? And he goes, yeah, it's okay. I mean, I got some time in Coronado. It was good. And he moved on. And so that first piece got me really thinking. And you know what? It's exactly the same whether you're going to start a business or whether you're going to start something really big and hardcore in the business you're in, because the code applies to anything. But you got to understand why you're there. You got to understand why you're starting this. And the only reason that I put myself and my family, by the way, good God, don't ever have the wife at home alone when an IRS agent shows up. What a miserable experience that was. You got to understand your why. So the first part of the code, and I have a little acronym for it, begins with you. And the action is understand. Now the whole term is understand the why, understand the passion and the purpose of what you're trying to do, and you're going to figure out the way. But if you go in and the idea is, I want the fancy car, it's going to be a really hard thing to stick it out when you're getting surf torture. When you're sitting in the surf zone, getting hammered, going, this sucks. Is it really worth a car? Is it really worth trying to pick up a girl at a bar? No, you got to find the why is divided into two groups. For me, it's divided into passion and it's divided into purpose. You can have one come before the other, but you got to have both together. Whether you're a tanker with 2 tank treads, or you're a pilot with 2 wings, a Marine with 2 boots, or a Navy guy with 2 oars. One without the other, and you're not going to go forward. I swear to you, you're going to go in a circle. So you really got to be thinking about, understand that why, and you'll figure out the way. And I kind of missed that point, to be honest with you. When I started here at Tepper, I was straight out of the military. I mean, what was I making? $30,000 a year as a lieutenant? I mean, combat pay, a little of that. I was like, oh, dollar signs. All right, how much are we going to make? First year out. Couldn't wait. Dive right in. McKinsey, Goldman, everyone was flocking for those interviews. Must be the thing to do. That's what I'll go after. And until I started doing those interviews, starting to understand what really made those things tick, that didn't fire me up at all. So you can use that why to say, you know, what fires you up? What are you willing to go through walls for? And to me, it wasn't the money. And I think the really great things out there, by the way, guys, the things that are just so audacious, the money's going to flow. So I really encourage the veterans out there, you guys got the leadership skills. You're getting the analytical weapons here. Take the time, and sometimes, by the way, I went and I learned from another Carnegie Mellon alum, a mentor of mine, Bart O'Brien, who hired me out of here, and I went and I hung out with him at a startup for a couple of years. And that kind of helped me percolate, okay, I'm understanding why. I actually don't really get computer programming. Kind of hard to sell it if you don't get it. So that's what kind of led me down that path. Action number 1, understand. Action number 2, P, plan. Plan in 3D. I talked to entrepreneurs this morning. This is so militarily ingrained, I can't believe I messed it up when I left. I mean, everybody in this room, except for you ROTC guys, and you're going to learn it. Mission planning. We don't do anything. You go through boot camp and you got a plan to go to the bathroom. I mean, everything's plan, plan, plan. And I can't tell you, it is 3 phases of operation: insertion, actions on the objective, extraction. And then what could go wrong at every step of the way. I had the unique opportunity of spending a couple of days with Admiral Olson, 4-star Admiral, our first 4-star Admiral in SEAL team. And he was actually in the Joint Operations Center when we were doing the takedown for Osama bin Laden. And I was like, Admiral, tell me something cool about the op. And he said, do you remember seeing that picture of Hillary Clinton on the front page of New York Times, everyone, and she's like this. You remember that picture? Everyone else, President Obama is like, and they're all looking at this little laptop. Remember? That's not the jock. That was a room right outside the Situation Room, and the jock was at an undisclosed location, and Hillary's going like that. You're probably thinking like, okay, that's when they took their first person out. That scene was right after the helicopter crashed. He said the next scene is the one that was the most interesting because they had a big speaker in the room. Right after the crash, the platoon commander that was leading the SEALs on that mission says, instituting Plan Bravo. Click. That was it. And it was the tone of voice. They just said, instituting Plan Bravo. And they look through the code and they go, Plan Bravo. Oh, down helo. Oh, they got a bump plan. Huh. And then all of a sudden he said, you could hear everyone going, okay, we planned for this. And it was all how that person said that. I did not have a Plan Bravo when I started my business. I was just hoping to try and get something to put together. And I'll tell you, the other thing about planning, and I stress this, I call it planning in 3D. How many times do you hear everybody talking about the x-axis? We got time, y-axis, we have dollars. It's time and dollars. Everything is registered on time and dollars. If you are starting something new, sure, time and dollars is important, but don't get so single-tracked focused on that. Don't forget that there is a totally different axis that you need to be working on. And that axis is technically called the z-axis. I'll call it the dream axis or making a dream come true axis. I'm talking about turning the dollar sign and forgetting about dollars for a moment because it's part of the equation. But dollars are like bullets. You got to have the bullets. But there's so much more to it. And I would replace that with milestones and really understand each of these things. So when we're talking about planning and planning in 3D, you got to look at it from all the angles. I had no idea that Perfect Pushup was going to come off the way it did. I wish I had. And the guy that helped me do this, and we're going to talk about this more later, it was a teammate who really understood finance. I did not understand it that well. But when you start planning in 3D and you start thinking about the contingencies of each thing, it gives you a lot more confidence. It gives you more confidence in what you're doing, but it also gives you more confidence you're standing in front of an investor saying, yeah, I got a plan Bravo. I got a plan Charlie. And I got a plan Delta. Let me tell you what's going to happen here, 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 and here. And you guys, it's instinctive. It's built into us now. Don't forget it. Do not forget about planning and really digging into it. Now, everybody does business plans. We used to do a business plan about every 6 months, and then after a while I found that we were like planning every week because, oh boy, we were selling product and we didn't know what to do. But the next piece about this plan, and when you start going in the ups and the downs, and I mean, I got to talk about this. We've already heard this a couple of times. I heard it this afternoon in the entrepreneurship class as well. What is the very first thing we do in the military every morning besides get dressed? Come on, when you're at boot camp, what's the first thing you do? First major evolution of the day. Thank you, you PT. You work out. Somehow we kind of forget about it, you know, like, oh, I'm a business executive now, I don't need a PT. I'm telling you, if there's only a couple things I really want you to take away from this, please don't forget to exercise. I'm not talking about, I want you to use my product, I want you to be an Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's not what I'm talking about. There is science out there today, and by the way, this is also a SEAL team fact. This is one of the main things. When you go through SEAL team, when you go through all 3 phases of BUDS, basic underwater demolition training, everyone thinks, oh, you're a SEAL when you get out of there. No, you're not a SEAL. You're just a candidate that then takes you on to another advanced training. And the whole concept, the entire thing, is to teach you that your body obeys your brain. That's all it's on. It's to turn your body into a weapons platform. You know, very specifically, if you can't control the #1 weapon platform, then how are you going to be able to control the fancy sniper weapon or shoot the bomb or do any of those things? It was all about body obeys the brain. The new science out there today. Some people talk, there are some radical doctors out there, and they're not associated with the fitness world, that say if you are sedentary for 8 hours a day, it's the equivalent of smoking a pack and a half of cigarettes a day. Now, it's a very interesting concept about body obeys the brain. If you take that a step further, why does your whole body exist? What is the one organ that you can't transplant? Matthew? Brain. Nice job! Good thinking. That's exactly right. You know, the whole body is designed to support the brain. But the brain has a very interesting relationship with the body. It needs the nutrients. Feed it crap, brain's going to start working like crap. It slows down. And it's a very interesting concept when you start thinking of just the basic, like, you don't have to run 30 minutes every single day at 85% max heart rate. You got to move, though. You got to get up. You got to walk around. Like, I barely ever sit at my desk. Matt Brucker, you can ask him. He never gets a hold of me at my desk. I'm always on the cell. I got to walk around. You got to move. Don't forget that when you leave Tepper. And you guys do it all the way through college and keep going afterwards. Because I'm telling you, exercise, by the way, there's another study. Exercising, and this, by the way, this comes from a book called Spark, The Link of Aerobic Conditioning with the Brain, something along those lines at Spark. This guy was a Harvard medical doctor, and he studied every study there was from 1960 up until, let's call it, the 2000. And there was a dramatic link to what happens when you do exercise and you work with your body. And what ends up happening there? It fights off depression, which, by the way, if there are any entrepreneurs in this group, is your #1 demon when you go out there and deal with this. I mean, there was definitely bouts that I'd go in and out of. So I can't stress to you enough, at every given time, please use exercise as part of a weapon system when you leave Tepper. If this were my business school, everybody would get a course in physical education so they understood how to stay healthy through the rest of their life. I can't stress it enough. So then there's this another thing when I talk about the demons of dealing with depression. I guarantee you are going to have the demon of not believing, because people aren't going to believe in you. And people aren't going to believe in you because they're scared of your idea. You're scared that you're going to make them do some work that they don't want to do. They're going to be scared of you because you are going to push a limit, and then you're going to be different from them. You have got to recognize your reason to believe. If you don't believe in something, I can guarantee you're not going to achieve it. You've got to recognize your reason to believe. And in me, when I was going through SEAL team, here I am, an asthmatic kid. Doctor told me, you better learn to play chess, kid. You know, why would I think I could go through SEAL Team? I found rowing. I loved it. I gave up the inhaler, and I made it through that. But the rowing kept me going. I just said, you know what? I can suffer. I know how to suffer. I'll just keep going. I'm not going to give up. But it was rowing that gave me my reason to believe to get through the dark days in SEAL Team. And then SEAL Team beats you up way enough. That's why they do Hell Week. They give you a reason to believe in dealing with combat. And so when I'm sitting out on a ledge in Bosnia trying to hunt down a bad guy, for what was supposed to be 4 days that turned into 12 days, you had that reason to believe because, hey, I've been through Hell Week. I've been through this training. I've been here. I know what it's like to be cold. I wasn't expecting scorpions there, but there's just a bee sting after a while. But that's the idea, was you got to build a reason to believe. And by the way, Carnegie Mellon is helping you build a reason to believe. You don't get it yet, not completely, but you will. And when you go out, and you're going to end up competing against other people from different business schools with different attitudes, you got analytical weapons that I guarantee you they don't have. But recognize that reason to believe, because it's in each and every one of you, and you got to be able to have the courage to stand up and go, nope, that's what I'm doing. I believe this is going to work, no matter if you're in a big organization or a small organization. You got to recognize that. So I'm going to write down RB for reason to believe. So the next one. What's your name?
Shipman Smith, sir.
Shipman Smith. I like that. There's lots of Smiths out there. You know what a habit is?
Yes, sir.
Tell me.
Something that you start to do and you do a lot, so you don't even think about doing it anymore.
That's right. What's a habit made up of?
Routine, sir.
Actions, right? Habit's just habit's like a little piece of code, right? It's got a series of little actions right in there. And the military teaches us habits. They teach us all kinds of habits. Keep your finger out of the trigger well. Keep your weapon on safe. Check your gig line every morning. Are your boots shined? You know? Okay. How am I doing on my anchors? Are they a quarter of an inch up? You know? All those are little habits. After a while, you just check them, right? Those are little habits. Carnegie Mellon is teaching you habits too. Somewhere along the line, there's going to be some bad habits in there. And you got to understand what the habits are that are keeping you from getting where you want to go. SEAL Team does a really good job of instituting habits that make sure we're not going to kill one another when we're out there. It still kind of happens from time to time. It also can happen when you're out there in the civilian world, and now all of a sudden you're competing against a whole bunch of other people that have all kinds of different habits. Some of those habits, they are actually not good habits, but they want you to join those habits. Remember the old rule about misery loves company? Stay away from some of those habits, and also be able to screen the habits. You want to be able constantly thinking like, hey, is this thing really going to help me? Is this going to help me get to where I'm going to go? I got a bad habit. I stopped working out for a while when I was going through just the valley of the shadow of death with my business, and I thought I was going to lose everything. And I could feel it right away that I started feeling down and sluggish. It was a habit. Then I started to have to screen it back in and say, okay, that's one I want to go after. I got to start making exercise back into a habit. There is a habit for everything under the sun as you take a look at it. Habits are one of the most important things that are going to help you set yourself on a momentum for either positive or negative success. I cannot begin to tell you how many people come up to me and say, oh, I could have been a SEAL. Or, oh, I could have done this. Or I would have, should have done this. I mean, how many people come up to you for Green Beret? You know, oh, yeah, I was going to do that, but I met this girl and I got this really bitchin' Camaro. And then, what? Come on. Don't even talk about it. You know, habits that you're forming here, by the way, are work habits. I can't tell you how many entrepreneurs I've run into are like, you want to meet at like 7:30 in the morning? Well, I don't get up that early. I'm like, well, when are you going to do the work? mean, you got to work, okay? You got to start a habit. You got to get that discipline. And you guys already have it. You guys and gals are getting this work discipline. You're getting the leadership habit. You got to dig in now, and don't forget it. Just because you're out there in the civilian world, you're not the same, honestly. You got to keep those habits alive. Not necessarily the haircut habit. That's an individual choice. But you got to keep the habits going, okay, guys? Trust me with this. Even though all the civilians are like, ah, dude, you don't need to do that. Well, just stop working out. Let's just go get some lattes and hang out together. No, I got to work out. I got to get this thing going. So screen your habits. Get in the habit of screening your habits. Okay, so it's Bosnia. It's 1997. I'm a platoon commander at SEAL Team 2. I'm in Sarajevo. Missions are few and far to come by. They're hard to get. You got to compete with them. I am reporting to a 10th Mountain Division Green Beret. I will change his name. He is Colonel Smith. It's a good name, huh? Colonel Smith is from a southern state, and he says, Millsy, I got a mission for you, but I got to tell you right now, the Green Berets are competing for it, and who do you think I'm going to favor? I understand, Colonel. I go, well, what's the mission? He goes, oh, we're going to go get this bad guy. He killed 60,000 people, so you got to have your game on for this mission. I go, okay, that's good. I want to get that guy. And I said, well, what do I have to do? He goes, ha, ha, I got this new toy you're going to bring out into the woods. 1997. And he comes over, and he opens up the case, and he shows me this new toy. And he goes, now, before you pick it up, you're going to sign for it. And I look at the requisition list, and it's $35,000. And it's a camera. I'm like, Colonel Smith, what's up with that? And he goes, watch this. He picks it up. He goes, smile, click. And then he turns the camera around, and he goes, it's called a digital SLR. It was a Kodak body with a Nikon lens. And I was sitting there, wow, that's pretty cool. And he goes, now you ain't going to get to play with this until you tell me, here, you need to go out in the woods. You need to take a picture of this bad guy that we have to hunt down so we can capture him and bring him to The Hague. But you got to take a picture of him. Then you're going to take this laptop. And he literally picks up a Toshiba Protege laptop off of his desk. And he goes, and you got to send it to this Toshiba laptop, which, by the way, had like floppy drive, you know, like a 3-inch disk drive thing in it. And, of course, I'm still not kind of computing all this. And he's like, and then you're going to put it on a SATCOM radio that you're taking out in the field. And you're going to beam it to headquarters, and headquarters is going to analyze the picture. We're going to tell you if it's a bad guy or not, and then we're going to call you, and then we're going to say, we're going to get him. You got it? So you go out there, and you come back, and you tell me how you're going to do this mission. Well, so the Green Berets, they went back, and they did that too. And then we came back, and it became very clear that the biggest part of the mission didn't hinge on whether we could find him, didn't hinge on if we could have enough food, or enough weaponry, or enough SATCOM or anything. It hinged on the battery life of that Toshiba Protege laptop. The Toshiba Protege laptop had a very particular kind of battery. There was no Best Buy in Sarajevo. The whole town had been bombed out. And we had no idea, like, whew, what are we going to do? So one of our guys, he improvised. He's like, you know, sir, I think we can take the 5590, which is the battery that goes into the SATCOM radio, and I think I can jerry-rig it up, and I can give power to the laptop. Because we got to bring the 5590 in the field anyhow. And we don't have to fly back to North Carolina, which the word on the ground was the Green Berets were going to send an action team back to North Carolina, and they're going to go buy a bunch of Protege laptop batteries and come back. I'm like, I don't have that kind of time window. And so we ended up going back, and we pitched the colonel. And I say, Colonel Smith, so how are you going to deal with the battery life? He goes, well, I hadn't thought of that. What are you going to do about it? And we showed him how we could jerry-rig it. And he goes, well, hell's bells. You got the mission. I can't believe it. But the whole story was around improvising. You know, they tell you when you go through SEAL team, you got to have flexibility of a frogman. They constantly, flexibility of a frogman. You got to be flexible. Got to be flexible. And you'd be like, okay, what is flexible? Maybe like bend backwards, like lean forward. You know, they're constantly saying that. But the fact of the matter is, they started also teaching flexibility of the frogman is that you have to do a 4-mile timed run every week. We would go do these 4-mile time runs. You had to do it a little faster every week. You'd finish at the end of that run, and then one time they said, okay, turn around, you're doing it again. We were throwing up. We were exhausted. And the mental anguish of having to turn around because they just changed the finish line, we lost 3 guys. They quit. They said, oh, forget it. By the way, they didn't make us do a 4-mile time run. They made us run about a half a mile. And they just wanted to see who was going to drop out. That's what they were talking about with flexibility of a frogman. By the way, that's the same thing that happens in business. No sooner do you think, aha, I'm there. I got it. I'm at my destination. Nope, competitor came in, just beat you out. Or somebody called you up and goes, I'm going to sue you now. Or an investor gives you a problem. Or, I mean, there's so many. Business is so much more complicated than the military. It's a lot more complicated out there. But when you have the disciplines that you guys have already picked up, I really want you guys to cherish those. I really want to call those out for you. So don't forget them. Be flexible. Be improvising. Be willing. You know, it sounds a little cliche-ish about, you know, improvise, adapt, and overcome. But you know, that's pretty dead on. You got to improvise. You got to be prepared to continue to improvise. You with me on that, Smith?
Yes, sir.
You're not from the South, are you? Oh, okay. Seems like all the Smiths I know are from the South. So, the next one, you can't figure this out yet. It's going to be an acronym because I believe in acronyms because I'm not that good at remembering things if it's not like an acronym. And I thought, you got to have an acronym for military people, right? And if it's a little hard to read, I'll pull this out over the side. Guys, you don't know it all. You don't know it all. Even when you come out of Carnegie Mellon, you don't know it all. You're never going to know it all. I promise you that. And you need to, sooner rather than later, understand what you're good at and figure out the expert that can help you out. You've got to get out there and figure out who can help you be better. Because I'll tell you right now, I was terrible at Excel. I showed up here and everybody was expected to know Excel. I didn't even know how the cell worked. I ended up having to go buy a video and sit in my living room saying, push equal. And I'm watching a DVD in my room. I mean, I felt like the biggest moron on the planet. Of course, I'm a Navy SEAL. I know Excel. I'll just deal with that back in my room. It took me like 6 weeks to ask the classmate, like, hey, could you help me out on this Excel thing? I mean, drop the ego at the door. Just go figure out as quickly as you can. Find out what you're good at and just say, you know what, I'll keep learning. I want to learn and strengthen those things, but you're not going to be great at everything. Just let it go. Find that expert. Seek the experts. They're out there. And by the way, when you're willing to seek the expert and be able to check the ego, they'll be like, hey, I want to help you. That's pretty cool that you're willing to like say, I'm really good at something and you're not. It's a really important piece of the equation. It took me a while to seek an expert when I started my business because, one, you're going to get out, you're going to show up at a place and you're like, oh, you're the MBA. It happened to me when I was at the startup. You're the MBA. You must know what's going on. You know, and I was just praying, please don't put an Excel spreadsheet in front of me. Because I still get hives for Excel spreadsheets. Ask Matt. I mean, he really does them all. Matt, could you do that piece for me? But you've got to be able, like, even though you're the MBA, you don't know it all. You're a military officer, you still don't know it all. You remember? I mean, come on. When we were leading troops, my chief had like 10 combat tours, and I'm the platoon commander. How could I not listen to this guy? You know, you're going to get in an organization, and you got to find out who's who in the zoo. I mean, Gail, how long you been here? 14 years. Expert. You go to Gail. She makes it happen. So you got to know, seek that expert. Just forget about the ego and forget the rank. Go after the expert because they'll help you. But you got to let them, let them know, hey, I need help. So it's about seeking the expert. And SEAL Team was notoriously good at this. They would bring in Olympic swimmers and put us in the pool, and we would learn from Olympic swimmers on, hey, this is how you do this. We went to a shooting course. By the way, none of us were Olympic swimmers, but they would bring in this like gold medal guy and make us feel like slower than molasses when we'd have to swim against him. And they'd be like, all right, first guy to beat the Olympian, you can get out of the pool. Well, nobody ever beat the Olympian. We're in the pool for like 3 hours. God, oh, that is not a fair fight. Can we have fins? One guy put fins on, we couldn't beat him. and then we go to shooting schools. And there was a guy, and I'm not kidding, this is a civilian shooter. He'd be like, why don't you throw a deck of cards up in the air? And he hit every bullet hit a card. And he shot like this. He didn't even like light it up or anything. And so we would go, SEALs would go learn from, this guy like did Vegas shows on how to shoot the heart out of a card when it was flipping up in the air. Because the mindset in SEAL Team was you can learn something from anybody. Figure out what you can learn from the person. Go find that expert. It's 1, 2, 3 degrees of separation away. And it's going to make you better as a leader. It's going to make you more thoughtful as a leader. It can be like, hey, I respect it. You know how to play the French horn. I have no idea how to play the French horn. Tell me something about that. And then you start taking an interest in those experts which work with you, which is a whole nother conversation, by the way. Nobody works for you. I believe they work with you. Don't forget about that. You should be thinking of your workforce when you leave Tepper as a volunteer force. They are volunteering to work with you. If you have that mindset and say, I'm actually working with you and you are working with me, I guarantee you, you will be building a team, a civilian team that appreciates you. But it starts with seek the expert. Can anyone guess what the last letter is? Melissa. Okay, come on. This is, it's like Wheel of Fortune, right? Do you want to buy a consonant or a vowel? What do you think the last letter is? Without the U. Without the U, just look at that word. Hint, it's a verb. Okay, you want to buy a consonant? Yes! You want to buy a T? Excellent. Okay. You persist. All right? That's how I started thinking about, like, okay, how am I going to teach my kids? How am I going to teach a bunch of these entrepreneurs? Because people come talk to me all the time, like, hey, well, what's the secret to success? I'm like, don't give up. Don't give up. But it starts with what you're really passionate about. The T is team up. Because what I was just talking to you, once you go seek that expert, you're going to figure out, like, whoa, I really don't know integer programming. I thought I did because I went to Carnegie Mellon. But I don't really know it. Do I really need it? You might, depending on what your team is, what you need to do. But the only way you're going to be able to team up, the only way you're going to really attract a just dream bashing, super bad, I want to say all these bad words, super cool idea to go make these awesome missions happen is you want to have a great team. And it's got to be a team that's better than you at the things that you are terrible at. And how are you going to get them? You're going to get them because you understand where you're going. You got the passion and the purpose to fire them up. Like, hey, I was talking to a guy in entrepreneurship. Where is he? I don't think he's here. He was in the Navy. He's like, I want to change the world. Woo! Yes, that's what Carnegie Mellon grads are all about. We want to go change the world. Okay, now can we narrow it down a little bit? Well, like what part of the world do we want to change? So let's pick on something. I want to cure cancer. Great, big, hairy, audacious goal. How are we going to do it? Well, let me tell you, one guy alone is not going to solve it. I mean, they're crowdsourcing doctors from around the world. Think of it that way. As a team, SEAL team, you are never, ever alone. The very first people that drop out of SEAL team are Rambos. They say that word, Rambos. We don't want a Rambo. We want nothing to do with a Rambo. Same thing, right? Green Beret, Delta.
Movie guys, yeah.
You know, the guy that shows up with greased arms and his shaved chest and like, I'm going to go kill a commie for mommy. That's the worst guy on the planet that you want to team up with. You want the guy that's like, hey, I'm your comms guy. I'm your med guy. I can get you out of here. Okay, that's great because I'm terrible at sticking IVs and I could never get a SATCOM uplink. So you want those people. You need them. And they got to be respected. You got to know like, hey, man, this team is an open cage. I need you as badly as you need me. Let's make this thing work together. It's got to be that. It can't be like, hey, I'm the MBA. I saw a guy come up to me with a business card. Founder, chairman, CEO, and president. Are you kidding me? One rank, folks, one rank. Okay, you founded it. If you should be the CEO, fine, you can be the CEO. Guess what? You might need a president who can be really good at dotting I's and crossing T's, or a chief operating officer, or most importantly, anybody that can get anything done when you're a startup, because that's what it is. It's all C levels, and it's all down below levels. I mean, I can't believe it. I hear this all the time. Yeah, I'm chairman, president, CEO. Give me a break. You got to create a team, and the way you're going to create the team is they are going to be magnetized to you because they believe in your vision, they believe in the passion and the purpose that you've connected together. Jeremy and I were talking earlier today, and I was like, Jeremy, you know what I'm talking about here? I mean, it's about getting fired up. And he goes, sir, I got it. You know, how can you expect anyone to get as fired up as you if you're not fired up? I was like, you know what? That's a good point. You know, why would anyone else be more fired up than you if you can't even demonstrate being motivated? I'm like, Jeremy, I just learned something from you. I'm going to steal that from you. Oh, you can steal it. Cool. I told you I was going to steal it. You know? But seriously, guys, you got every skill set in the book. And you got such an incredible, awesome place here at Carnegie Mellon. And I remember talking when I first got accepted at Carnegie Mellon. I'm like, whew, I'm glad they didn't look at my GMAT because they definitely didn't put it in that average of all the other GMATs. I mean, I think people at one point in the very beginning, they're like, hey, so what's your GMAT? I'm like, you know, what's the average? Like, don't talk to me about that test. And CMU took a real, you know, I did not have stellar grades. I didn't have a stellar GMAT. And I am forever indebted to CMU. They took a risk with me in the beginning. You know, Navy SEAL, Lori Stewart called me up while I'm hiding in a comm shack overseas. She's like, so why do you want to go to Carnegie Mellon? I'm like, you know, I want to go out. I want to start some businesses that can make a positive impact on people's lives. She's like, sounds good to me. And they gave me that skill set, and you guys are getting it here. And I'm hoping that these, you know, simple, soft kind of organizational behavior tools, you'll carry those with you and say, you know what? I got all the analytics. The great piece of this is how do I just not give up? Don't give up. Once you find something that you know is worth dying for, don't give up. Because I'll tell you something, guys. You already know this. You already know purpose. Every single one of you has put on a uniform or is wearing a uniform. You look very sharp, by the way. Even you with your white socks. Where are you? Yeah, I like that. I love that. But you're going to get my business card first, okay? So we're going to keep you going. So you guys have already gone for a higher purpose. You've gone for the higher purpose. You chose a path that most people don't choose out of school. Now I'm talking to you guys. So you're going to get the purpose thing when you get out of CMU. I found when I got out, I was like, wait a minute, it's just working for money? Like, that's it? That's all there is? Well, I was having more fun in the military. I mean, okay, I wasn't making that much, but I mean, I had people that were willing to die for me. Like, they jump on a grenade, you know? Why do people jump on a grenade?
I don't know, because they blow up.
They do blow up. And I've often wondered, like, you know, Michael Murphy, lone survivor, got the Medal of Honor. He died. He went out there and he made a SATCOM uplink to let everybody know we are in a real problem. We need help. And he died making that call. You know, Mansour, he got a ship named after him. He jumped on a grenade and he saved the other people out there. Why'd he do it? They did it because they cared about everybody else on the team. There was true love out there. You know, I tell people all the time, like, what's the most important verb in business? What do you think the most important verb in business is? You're like a computer science guy, right?
Physics. Yeah.
Physics, that's even better. F equals ma. That's the only thing I can remember of that. What do you think, William? Verb.
Not giving up, sir.
Well, it's close. Care. You got to care about what you're doing. You got to care. You know, it can go to love even. I mean, I love all the people on my team. That's why all those people would do what they were doing. You know, it's already ingrained in you from the military, so take it to that next level when you go out into business and go change the world, because you really can. In your skill set, for whatever it is you want to apply yourself, get out there, care for something so much that everybody else wants to go with you, and go do it, because you can. That's all I got. Questions? Now it's quiet. I got nothing? Jack!
Great job, by the way. Darkest day in business. You kind of alluded to it before.
Darkest day. The darkest days were the days when I couldn't, things were completely out of my control. Here it was, I finally found a company that was interested in buying Perfect and helping us go to the next level. I alluded to it in that video. We really needed operational support. We were not designed to raise money to build a warehouse and have forklift operators and have EDI pipes to Target and to Walmart and really get that going. And so I linked up with a distributor in the beginning, and the distributor stopped paying us. And over time, you know, that was the blood to try and keep things going. So then I turned to my team. At the time, we were down from 35 to 15 people, and I said, guys, I can't pay another paycheck. All I can do is I got to save the rest of the money to pay for healthcare benefits. I completely understand that you've got to go look for a job. You don't have to come in tomorrow. You can do whatever you need to get done, but I can't pay you. That was April. Now, and I said, by the way, I've found a company, but the process is going to take 90 days. So within 30 days, we had gone down the road with that company, and they had said, yes, we're interested, we want to buy you. They gave me the letter of intent. The next day, I got official action notice from the Consumer Protection Safety Commission saying, by the way, we are now seeking substantial damages for a broken product you had from 2008. I'm like, I cannot believe this. So of course you got to notify, because you're in due diligence phase. You have to notify the company of everything. So I go call the CEO of the company. I'm like, we just got this letter. Came from this courier, blah, blah, blah. He's like, well, everything's on hold. I mean, I can't go buy a company that has an open-ended infraction with the Consumer Product Safety Commission. And then you call these lawyers, which, by the way, I couldn't pay for a lawyer. I had to call my father-in-law to ask him to co-sign to do this big law firm in D.C., and it felt like it was all slipping away. I felt like, oh, I'm right there at the gate again, because we were very close to closing a big private equity deal in early 2009, 2 weeks from signing, and everything fell out. That was a very dark time. By the way, they all came in the next day, and they stayed with us.
So Matt and I were talking about this anomaly that we found in coming from military to civilian. And you run into people in the business world that don't have a military background, don't have leadership that we recognize,
yep,
and leadership experience and leadership qualities. Have you found that and how you dealt with it? For example, if you work with a company and it's a CEO that you wouldn't follow to Burger King. Yeah. I mean, that dynamic happens all the time, and it's going to happen to you when you finish your military career, go into business, and you look at a guy that's a CEO, and you're like, that guy is a moron. How did he get to where he's at?
That is you are so nails on that question, and that is reality. And you're like, oh my God, he can't lead us out of a wet paper bag. And not only that, like, he's got the whole praise in public, you know, what is it? It's praise in public and what is it? Berate in private. And he does the flip. He's like, hey, I want to pull you aside. Good job. By the way, all you guys stink. You're like, what? and I'll tell you, I think the first thing you got to do, depending on where this job is for you, is you got to reevaluate the organization in general. If that's really, is the person going to listen to you? Is the person, most of the time, that kind of person doesn't have the security to have somebody come in and say, hey, you know what? Next time around, let's not pick on Jackie or Bob. Let's deal with that separately. And let's by the way, we're doing great things. Let's not focus on everyone not using the paperclip. I had a guy who say, hey, these paper clips, they're on backwards. I want them always on the front. What? What's that got to do with anything? You know? So I think, number one, if this guy is a process of the organization and he has grown up through the organization and this is where this guy is, I would do a reality check with the organization you're in. If this guy got kind of nepotized in there, some other way of getting in there, and he's not listening to you, there's only one of two ways that game is going to play out. You're either going to be super flexible and wait him out and do a great job and then move to another department, or you're going to try and get him replaced or walk away to something else. I don't like condoning walking away, but those are tough spots to be in. And it can have a real intestinal fortitude struggle. Very good question.
Well, I think we want to take some time and thank Alden for his great presentation tonight and give you some time to talk with him afterwards. So.